Hello all, old geek here. It's magazine browsing time. I'm going to have a little look at the dragon for this one. This is Dragon number 27, still $2 from July 1979. Those heady days, those summers of the 70s. Volume 4, number 1. And as has become often the case when I decide to record a video, the world around my house suddenly springs into life. We have the wind outside going whoosh. We have somebody digging and drilling, and we have no noise cancelling in this lovely freezing attic of mine. But I will persevere. Consider those background whooshes to be atmosphere. Right, let's have a look. Okay. Now, I often grumble about the Dragon's presentation. Look, we're at a 48-page magazine, and it's stuffed full of all sorts of good nerdery. There's a wide variety of articles, a wide variety of topics, a lot of interesting stuff, but they still haven't got the presentation right. They still haven't learnt from White Dwarf in that sense. White Dwarf's entire layout, from the cover through the table of contents, through the way the articles are laid out, from the fact that they have the ads mostly at the start and the end in blocks. White Dwarf's presentation is just superior. So come on, Dragon. Let's see how you can do. But let's see what the contents are like, because contents, of course, are more important. Okay, the cover, considerably better than the last cover, which was dreadful. They've changed the font of the title, which I don't mind. It's a bit basic. I still don't like this white text on the background, because look down here. You can't read this bit down the bottom. You can't read. The rule, shiver, no, you can't. Make it readable. That is the most important thing. Make it readable. So, the cover's a bit... It's okay. It's okay. I'm guessing it's to do with chivalry, because I can see the word chivalry there. So you've got a knight with his lance, with all the fancy twirly bits on there, and his horse with posh barding and whatever. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's just the text. Well, Partha, doing better ads now. Let's look at the contents page. See what Tim Kask had to say. If you didn't see it recently, a friend of the channel, Bear, had Tim Kask on a panel. It was a very interesting conversation. And then a week later, Larry Elmore was on the panel. A few technical issues with Larry Elmore, but interesting conversations. And it's really good to see these old luminaries of the hobby talking about their experiences. And I don't know, putting paid to sort of rumours and things like that. So this issue marks the beginning of our 4th volume. In the publishing world, volumes are analogous to fiscal calendar years. This is our birthday issue. Boop, boop. Happy birthday, happy birthday. So now, 4th volume, so 3 years old. Yes. Let's move on. So, the Sorcerer's Scroll. Quick look at the dwarves. Giants in the earth. Dragons bestiary. Bizarre of the bizarre. Ooh, that's interesting. Elements and the Philosopher's Stone. Tesseracts in Traveller. Star System generation in Traveller. Expanding Imperium. African mythos in D&D. Okay. Agincourt. Designer sounds off. Divine Right design notes. Emerald Tablet design notes. SPI's Agincourt. That's going to be a tabletop historical battle game. The English Civil War by Philmar. MiG Killers. MIG Killers. MiG Killers by Game Science. And Humour. The Voyages of E.S. Znutta and Phineas Fingers. There's a different spelling of Phineas. Yeah. Agincourt, the 100 Years' War background. Oh, let's see if... Look, there's a lot of misconceptions about the Battle of Agincourt. What caused most of the casualties, what turned the battle, and all that. Let's just see what they say here, because I'm interested in that. historians have generally come to a conclusion regarding what happened and why. And for years and years and years and years and years, it was like the longbow reigned supreme. But at Agincourt, yes, the longbow was part of it. But the French arrogance of the aristocracy, the mud, and the simple logistics of the fact that Henry had taken so many Frenchmen prisoners. Most of the casualties, I believe, at Agincourt were caused by suffocation, trampling, and execution at the end of the battle, because there were too many prisoners. There were very few direct arrow casualties, but indirect, because it would have caused horses to panic. It would have darkened the sky. It would certainly have spooked people. But there's no way those arrows, unless they got a lucky shot, no way those arrows actually pierced any armour, unless they got a lucky shot in through gaps. But horses, on the other hand, yeah. So we've got convention stuff. Those are the awards again. That was mentioned in the issue before. Right. Agincourt, the destruction of French chivalry. Or it's a game review. Right, this is the game review by Tim Kask. I'm not so much interested in the game review here because I don't do what. Look at that art's awful. I'm sorry. Sorry, Darlene, you did some great black and white line art in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and your Greyhawk map is outstanding. But that isn't. That really isn't. So if I've offended Darlene fans. Continued on page 14. Learn from White Dwarf. Agincourt designer's note. I would say the most difficult aspect that I had to incorporate into the design of Agincourt were the combined arms and doctrine factors that were critical to the outcome of the battle. Crowding, yes, horribly crowded, and it was the mud. It was the environment, the mud, and the crowding, and they were all funneled into this cloying, toffee-like mud that, if you're heavily armoured in, to attempt to walk in, would have just exhausted you. That's what death through suffocation, trampling, people just collapsing with exhaustion in the mud. And why did the French do it? It was the arrogance of the knights. They thought they could just charge down the British. And no, they couldn't. They couldn't. This is also continued on page 14. Now, the political and military effects of Agincourt on the 100 Years' War. Right. Well, it had a... Yeah, it pretty much wrecked the French aristocracy for years and years and years, because only of those who were captured, only those who had significant value in terms of being... in terms of ransoms being paid, those are the only ones that were survived of the captives. If you weren't worth much, and they used the archers to put the French knights to death. Imagine that dishonour. A common archer. Yeah. The death of chivalry, apparently. Continue on page 42. So this is, this page here looks like it's all about the lead up to the battle. Elementals and the Philosopher's Stone by Jeff Swikaffer. Swikaffer? I wouldn't know how you pronounce your name there. The ancient Greeks believed that all matter was composed of 4 elements: air, earth, fire, and water. 4 elementals of D&D. Yeah. And then you've got all the quasi-elementals and all that thing later on. But yeah, the basic, you've got fire, earth, air, water. you've got this little thing to build, have you? Are you meant to cut this out and glue it together and make a thing? Okay. To keep on going. There you have the classic elementals. 8, 12 and 16 hit dice. And it shows the relationships by the looks of things. I like elementals. The fact that you could summon them, they could turn against you. Yes. From the Sorcerer's Scroll, what Judges Guild has done for Dungeons and Dragons. Personal opinion by Bob Bledsaw. Well, Bob would say that, wouldn't he? Because he's in charge of Judges Guild. So he's probably going, trumpet, boop, blowing his own trumpet, though. Bad bit of humour. Okay. You don't tug on Superman's cape and you don't mess around with the play balance. Okay. Out on a limb. Ooh. Upon reading Mark Cummings' review of Ralph Bakshi's film The Lord of the Rings, I became as concerned about Mr. Cummings' ethics as he was of Mr. Bakshi's morals. His review of the film begins dramatically with the statement, "Your film is a rip-off." Yes, rip-off. I know that expression has moral connotations, that you haven't done anything wrong legally, but I happen to believe that moral obligations often make demands that go beyond the demands of laws. So stay with me for a few paragraphs and I'll explain why your film is immoral. Let me start by saying that I'm not an outraged purist. He doth protest too much. Boot Hill advert? Another fine game from TSR Hobbies, the Game Wizards. The Agincourt Review. When all is said and done, what better definition of a good game simulation than one that makes you fight a given battle the way the battle would have been or was fought when it first happened? Isn't the point to take the battle as it was and then try and do better? I mean, yes, you are trying to simulate the battle, but shouldn't you be, as players, trying to work out what might have happened had they done this, or had they done that, or had they not done that? Anyway, what do I know? I'm not a tabletop gamer, so I don't know what your priorities are. I mean, fun's a priority, isn't it? Of course it is. Of course it is. Tesseract's a traveller artifact. It's sci-fi. Yes, I've been playing a bit of Dune 2 lately, and as a lot of people have said, what's John doing playing sci-fi? Look, I don't like sci-fi RPGs, I don't watch sci-fi films, I don't watch sci-fi TV, and I don't read sci-fi books. But I like real-time strategy games, and I don't mind the genre for a real-time strategy game. I just like a game that goes quickly and is satisfying and enjoying to play, and with all its big booms and satisfying explosions and squelches and its place in history. Dune 2 is a fun game to play, and I thoroughly enjoyed revisiting it. I mean, when I was streaming Dune 2, I admit I enjoyed StarCraft, but I also liked Age of Empires, or the whole series, the Warcraft series. I've never played World of Warcraft, but I mean the Warcraft real-time strategy game, and then of course StarCraft, one of my favourite games of all time, StarCraft, Command and Conquer, Red Alert, all of these games I loved, played them to death because I love real-time strategy games. So Znutar is a thing. More Traveller. Divine Right, design notes. Guessing Divine Right is game. I don't know anything about it. Again, continued on page 47. You're getting worse with this. I'm sorry, Dragon. You're getting worse with this. Quick look at dwarves. This might be more my sort of thing. Is this sort of the origins of the dwarf? And a bit about their religions, their kings. I mean, very obviously inspired by myth, legend, and Tolkien in a way in D&D, with the different types of dwarves and their general attitudes. They are a classic fantasy race, though. Army breakdown. They would, of course, be very organised militarily. Very organised. Good equipment. High morale. Good loyalty. Hardy souls, the dwarves. The Emerald Tablet Design Notes. Emerald Tablet, published by Creative Wargames Workshop Inc. Fantasy Battle Rules for Miniatures. Okay. So there's quite a lot of tabletop wargaming going on in this issue. That's fine. Say it's a... Dragon is now a longer magazine, so it can fit all this in and still have enough in there to appeal to people with more specific tastes like myself. Best of the Dragon from the Strategic Review and the Dragon Volumes 1 and 2 on sale at Gen Con 12. Cool. More about Emerald Tablet. Believe. Is it? Yes. Continuing that. Yeah, I'm good. They are continuing this article over... Ladies? See, that's better artwork. That is better artwork. Giants in the Earth. Classic heroes from fiction and literature. Oh, this is continuing from the previous one. I don't know who Durathor is. 13th level fighter / dwarvish paladin. Okay. He's not very bright, is he? He's not very bright. But he's tough. He's a leader. This continues from the article in the previous issue. Oh, look. I know these ones. Fafard and the Grey Mouser. I know these ones. I wonder if these are the stats that we use in Deities and Demigods. Because, of course, the Lankmar mythos was in Deities and Demigods. We'll have to look it up. 20th level fighter, 8th level thief, and 18th level fighter thief. So is that 18/18 and 20/8? I mean, that wind is getting up outside now. Omanal, you'll like this. Edgar Rice Burroughs, John Carter of Mars. There he is. There's John Carter of Mars. Omanal never shuts up about... Okay. I can just end that sentence there. Omanal never shuts up. No, Omanal never shuts up about John Carter of Mars. He's a bit of a fan. So there's some stats for John Carter of Mars. Omanal, are you happy now? We're back to the dwarves. And Filmar's The English Civil War. Don't let the wretched box put you off. Okay. It's a great game in a lousy box. Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I'm agreeing with that idea that you don't judge a book by its cover. Because if you judge the dragon by its covers... But, hey-ho. Out on a Limb continued... Ooh, sign this off disrespectfully. Ooh. He was clearly a bit angry. Traveller, advert. Go boldly. Where no man has gone before, expanding Imperium. which of course is more sci-fi. More sci-fi. MiG killers. Probably the best single air warfare game available. Okay, so yeah, well, the name MiG, it's going to be to do with aeroplanes, isn't it? Enjoy if you enjoy that sort of thing. The mythos of Africa. Africa's a big place. There's a whole lot of mythos in Africa. Lots of cultures, lots of countries, lots of languages. Okay, looking at the intro at the top, it says the mythology of that part of Africa which lies south of the Sahara. So it's focusing on sub-Saharan Africa. But still, it's a big old continent, and there's a lot of sub-Saharan Africa. Right. Again, it's one of those articles on regional mythos. We've seen other regions already done. It's there to give you ideas. It gives you the names, but for me, these articles have never quite got into enough detail. They're quite general, but it is nice to see the names and have some ideas of divine beings that you can bring into a game to give a game a different feel. But I would have always liked to have seen more detail rather than just stats for this sort of thing. I want flavour. Dragon's Bestiary. Formerly featured creature. The Horast. Looks like relative to the Displacer Beast or something. Whipper Beast. It does look like it is a little bit Displacer Beasty, with its multiple legs and excellent camouflage ability. Maybe slightly downgraded, but look at that damage there with the tail. 4 to 32 damage. 4d8 damage. Ow. Ow. I think that's a bit excessive from a 5-hit dice creature. That's a little bit excessive. A 20% chance of a double stroke with a tail. Oh, okay, it's not got a great armor class. Doesn't move particularly quickly. Yeah, right. It's got its camouflage ability. It's got 6 legs. I'd have downgraded that tail a bit and made it move a little more quickly. But hey ho, it looks like it's neatly done, neatly drawn, well described. A professional article. More about the 100 Years' War. I'll come back and read that in a bit. And then we go into adverts. Advert for Gen Con. Phineas Fingers. Obviously not an advert, but it's a cartoon strip. Bazaar of the Bazaar. This looks like it's new magic items. Okay. Absolutely fine. Bag of wind. Wind bag. Ruff, 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 ruff. No, idiot. I didn't mean raise up the dead. I meant raise the dead. Ah. Okay, these are continued bits of articles. There's Divine Right. There's more Divine Right. This art's a little bit better. There's an advert for Divine Right. It's a well-placed advert by the article. Another advert. Oh, there we go. That completes the magazine. Right, okay. Once again, it is a nice, long, beefy magazine. There's a lot of the chopping up of articles in this one is entire pages rather than little bits and odd paragraphs, it is better. That is better. There's still too much of it. The artwork is very variable in here. There's a lot of information regarding tabletop military games rather than my fantasy games. Then there's quite a bit of sci-fi in here as well, so there wasn't as much in this magazine to interest me, though I will go back and read that thing on Agincourt because I like that. But in terms of fantasy, like your D&D or whatever, it was very light in this issue. But still, there's good variety in there. It's just there wasn't much of what I'm looking for. There's plenty of other bits and bobs. So for people in the hobby, there was a lot in here. I don't think quality-wise, I can't judge the quality of the articles on topics I know nothing about. So I'm going to say there's not as much in here for me. So I'm a little disappointed in that sense. But there's probably a lot more in here for other gamers. So other gamers would have had a lot more out of this edition of Dragon than I would. Content-wise, it's certainly deeper and more varied than White Dwarf. Presentation-wise, it's still well behind White Dwarf. It's an average issue for me, but that's purely on a personal level. Hope you've enjoyed this read-through. I've been the Old Geek. Sorry about the atmospheric effects. I can't change the weather, unfortunately. I hope the wind is whooshing beautifully. Anyway, I've been the Old Geek. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.